Good morning from Xi'an, China. Welcome to Meet the Terracotta Army, Understanding Chinese Culture. I am Dong Yongying from Xi'an University. Sponsored by the Local Culture Administration, this program provides Chinese language courses and the World Tour trips in the museums. Last Saturday, you have visited virtually the Emperor Qinshihuang's Terracotta Army Museum, the pit number 1, 2, and 3. During that trip, we have introduced that being buried underground for more than 2,000 years, these terracotta warriors and horses were broken into pieces without one intact. Have you wondered who restored them and what the restoration process is? Today you will find out the answer. You can say, I am now in the on-site workshop of pit number 1. It is really a great privilege to be in this workshop, because this workshop is not for the public. And today we invite the Mr. LAN Desheng, the famous restaurant conservator, to give us this lecture. Mr. Lan and his colleague will introduce how to piece together and restore these terracotta warriors and horses. Now let's welcome them. 你好，蓝老师。谢谢蓝老师今天给我们做讲座。So you can see that Mr. Lan will introduce how to piece together and conserve these broken warriors and horses into together in this workshop. They are real. And Ms. Qi Wenjing is a museum educator. She will help to explain this process in English. And during this trip, should you have any questions, please leave your message in the chat box. And also by the end of this trip, you will have the opportunity to communicate with Mr. Lan. Okay, guys, let's get started. 蓝老师，谢谢。
同学们好，欢迎大家走进我们秦兵马俑医院，这里也是我们秦俑1号坑对外开放修复室。我们将在这里为大家介绍一下我们秦人是如何从一个残片，然后修到最后成为一个完整的秦人。
Hi everyone, welcome to the Relic Hospital here inside in the pit number 1. And this is the restoration area outside in the pit number 1 in the Terracotta Warrior pits. And we're going to show you how to piece the Terracotta Warrior from the fragments to a whole again. And now let's start the journey.
我们既是文物医生，也是我们文物修复师。
We're called doctors. So actually we work on the restoration section, and for this whole process, that's why we're called doctor, because we're healing all these terracotta warriors.
大家现在看到我们这个，也就是我们兵马俑医院的治疗室，跟我们医院基本上是一样的。你看有病床，有我们的床位，我们床位上面还有编号。还有一些我们检测分胸的仪器，包括工具和药品。
It's actually look just like the real hospital. When you're got sick, you will go to the hospital. So we have gurneys, and also we have all these equipments, the detective machines, and also we have the different kinds of endoscope and equipments for us to detect in different the diseases of these terracotta warriors, help us diagnose.
那么秦俑在出土的时候是残缺不全，没有一件是完整的。我们所看到的这些都是从考古现场提取过来，然后我们再给它分类，拼成一个完整的人的形象。
And actually, all these terracotta warriors were found in broken pieces on the excavation site. And we extract them all from the site and move them here to the lab onto the gurney. And they are numbered with their location. So that's the place we're going to piece them together.
那么这一件残破的更为厉害，它残破的片数有200多片。
So you can see this very own terracotta warrior was broken into nearly 200 pieces on site.
那么我们所看到的这些残片要经过我们文物医生的手，然后慢慢的把它一步一步的恢复到原来的状态。
So they're going to be whole again by this restorer's hands. They will restore them hand by hand and all these pieces. So that's how the miracle happens.
那么我们既是秦俑医院，也是文物医院，所以我现在说，我们一般到医院去，医院有一个宗旨，比如说生命第一，服务至上。那么到我们秦俑医院，我们也有我们的宗旨，也就是留住彩绘，复活军团。
So this is also called the Terracotta Warrior Hospital, and actually it's a relic hospital. So here we will make the Terracotta Warriors reviving again. And we have the protocol during this whole process is to preserve the beautiful colors on the surface first, and also we need to make them whole again.
所以我们的院址就是我们的宗旨，已经有上部分就是留住色彩，已经在这儿已经显现了。
So you can see the very own titles here displayed. That is in Chinese characters called 留住色彩. In English, it means to preserve the beautiful colors on the Terracotta Warriors.
那么后面4个字我刚已经说了，那么让同学们能够继续复读一下，这也就是我们的复习题。
So that's actually the protocol, the principle during this whole procedure.
那么我们所看到的这些工具，包括药品，还有仪器，都是在我们保护修复过程当中都是用到的。
So you can see on this workshop, we have different kinds of tools, equipment, and bottles in medicines. So that's all be used during this whole process to make the Terracotta Warrior whole again.
那么在修复的过程当中，我们所运用的仪器设备，基本上和我们骨科和眼科，还有我们的耳科，都是有密切不可分割的。
So those tools are actually the same side as the doctors are using in the surgery department. So you can see all these tools one by one.
那么这51件套就是我们现在医院上牙科所用的工具。
So there are 51 tools of them that was actually used by the dentist in the hospital.
它们每一个都有一定的用途，就包括我们这些仪器，还有这些他们所附属的产品。
Every one of them have their very own function during the whole process.
尤其我们所看到的，这是大家都知道的气耳球。
So that tool was used to blow out the dirt on the surface.
还有我们所使用的吹风机。
And also the blow dryer.
所以这是牙刷。
Even toothbrush was used.
那么同学们要问，那么秦俑也要刷牙吗？
So maybe you will wonder that does the Terracotta Warrior need to brush their teeth?
那么这个留给学生。
So that's a question for you.
我们还有一种，让我们同学猜一猜，这个枪是干什么用的？
So you can guess what does this one work for?
所以每一个工具在我们文物医院都有相应的用途。
So every tool has their very own function in the relic hospital.
这个大家比较熟悉，这是我们医院常用的绷带。
Oh, that's a medical gauze. It's very normal.
还有一种就是我们这个帆布袋，
And also we have bandage.
这在我们修复当中要常用。
That was used to make the broken pieces stable after they are glued together.
所以让我们同学猜一猜，这2个木棍是干什么用的？
You can make a wild guess. What does these 2 sticks work for?
这是我们显微镜的支架。
And now let's look at some equipment. That's a brace for the endoscope and also the microscope.
所以我们刚才看到那么多的残片，我们只在表面上看到它的残破，那么我们要进一步的分析它的内侧，我们还要运用一些现代的分析检测仪器，包括 X 光片。
So we found that there are different information inside and outside on the surface Terracotta Warriors. So we call them exterior information, also interior information. So inside we'll see some traces of the workers, and that will be seen and detected by those equipments like endoscope and also microscope. And sometimes even X-ray was used during this whole process.
那么这个仪器就是我们做 X 光所使用的。
That's a machine used for X-rays.
我们最近正在给兵马俑配 X 光片。
So lately we're doing these 3D X-ray for the Terracotta Warriors.
也就是我们通用的医院内 X 光片通用的传统的技术，把这个放在我们胸部的后面，通过 X 光照射，才能把禽俑完整的内部信息拍摄出来。
So that's actually the same as the way in the hospital when you're doing the X-ray examining, you will need this pad to cover your back, and then you can see all the structure of your body.
那么这就是我们的显微镜。
And that's a microscope.
通过我们显微镜分析，可以清楚地看到它的表面情况。
So after it was detected by this microscope, we can see on the screen all this interior information on the Terracotta Warrior. 蓝老师，你要不要解释一下那个印痕是什么？
这就是我们发丝上边所留下的信息。
So that was actually the hair braids of the Terracotta Warrior, and you can see there's a small part of fingerprint on it. So that's the fingerprint of the Qin workers 2,000 years ago.
那么禽俑医院，我们要现在开始对他们进行一个完整的病害的记录。
So that's our just introduction for the Radic Hospital and all these equipments. Now we're going to start the whole journey of how to restore a Terracotta Warrior.
我们保护修复也就跟医院的流程是一样的，在禽俑医院，它的这个修复流程需要10多个步骤。
So that's actually the same as the real hospital. So we have even 10 different steps during this whole process.
第一步，我们从考古队现场提取之后，要对它进行一个问诊。
First, after they're extracting from the Terracotta Warrior sites, we'll need to diagnose what kind of disease, what kind of damage they have.
也就是我们通过我们的肉眼所能够看到表面的一些病害。
So those are the parts we can see by our own eyes, the exterior information.
就看他们有什么病，得病的原因是什么。
To see how they got sick and what kind of disease they've got.
那么第二步，我们要对它进行进一步的现状描述，也就是写病历。
So the next step is to record all this information. So you can see 2 workers here, they're taking notes and also taking pictures of these broken pieces.
我们这些技工要通过他们的肉眼，将我们每一个残片表面上的信息要一一的记录在案。
So they'll need to record all this detailed information on the Terracotta Warriors.
那么内部的信息，我们肉眼所看不到的，就要借从我们现代科学检测仪器对它进行进一步的分析。
And as for the interior information that we cannot see by our own eyes, we will need to use the equipment with the help of the modern time technology. We can see all this interior information.
那么在一般的我们所能够见到的表面上的信息，我们也要把它记录起来。
So all this interior information, exterior information, we're going to keep record of all these different types of informations.
那么我们现在所看到的这一位秦人，他残破了80多片。
So this terracotta warrior we're looking at was broken into nearly 80 different parts of pieces.
在我们的医院里边，我们所说这位病人他的病情相对的还是比较轻。
It was actually in a quite good condition compared to other terracotta warriors.
因为从他的这个分布的情况和他的这个结构分析来看，基本上能够拼对完整。
Because we can just look at it by the structure, we can see how it was make up a whole again. It's very simple.
那么像那一位残破的比较厉害，我们经过我们的视频还缺了一些。
But just for the one we saw before, that one was broken into nearly 200 different pieces. That was quite complicated, and even after the trial section, we know that there are some parts missing even.
那么我们在表面信息记录的过程当中，发现了一些秦代人，也就是秦代的工匠所遗留下来的痕迹。
So during the process here of keeping records, we actually saw some information left by the Qin workers 2,000 years ago.
那么在我们的这个袍的底部，有我们秦代工匠的名字。
And here on the bottom of the robe of the Terracotta Warriors, we can see the name of the worker who made it 2,000 years ago.
那请我们同学们仔细的看一看，然后给一个正确的答案。
So now is the first question. You can take a look at this and find out what kind of Chinese character it is.
那么在这一位秦人当中，已经有了陶工制作他的文字，而且还有一种就是，已经这位陶工在做秦俑的过程当中，具体做了第几件。
So from this information, we can know the name of this worker, and also we can know the number of this terracotta warrior. That's the serial number of the terracotta warrior 2,000 years ago.
也就是说，这位秦人的身上的某一个部位有一定的这个数字编号。
So that means we can find numbers on the terracotta warriors.
所以我们在清理或者我们在表面记录的过程当中，一定要仔细。
So during this whole process, it requires patience and also carefulness. So that's how we can make sure all these records were kept.
也就是说，对秦人所遗留下来的所有的痕迹，我们都要通过我们的仪器或者肉眼来观察分析。
So we will need to analyze the interior and also exterior information, and then make sure to record all of them.
那么，在这个表面，也就是我们秦俑的这个臀部、后袍部留下了一个数字编号。
So here we can see a number in Chinese character written on the hip of this terracotta warrior.
所以我们让同学们猜一猜，这是数字几？
So you can make a guess. I think it's very simple, that one. Which number is it in Chinese character? So later we'll tell you the answer.
那么还有，在这个上面也留有它的数字编号。
And this one is actually the same number as the one we saw before on the robe of the terracotta warrior.
所以我们看到既有数字编号，又有陶工的名字，在我们这个秦俑这个残片里边还是少见的。
So that one contains not only the name of the worker, but also the number. That's very unusual in the terracotta warriors. I saw the answer, number 10, that was correct, but the different answer is that the name of the worker, they say maybe it's Lü. Is it right, Mr. Lan? 郎老师，你说这个对吗？
这个不对，
That is actually not right.
请同学们
It's wrong.
再猜一猜。
So you can make a wild guess again. It's not Lü.
我可以提示一下，在秦代，它分成了两部分，一个是宫廷的，一个是地方的工匠。
So here's a hint. There are two different types of workers in Qin Dynasty. One of them was from the central palace, and the other parts are from the local places.
不过这位同学这个创意非常好，因为他已经猜到了它的边缘轮廓。
Yeah, we just saw the answer was correct. That was gong in Chinese. Also in English, it's palace. But it's very clever of you to think of that as part of Lü, because that's the bottom part of the Chinese character gong.
所以说猜宫是正确的。
Yeah, that's very correct of you to think that is gong.
因为这只是代表了秦代一个作坊的一个机构名称。
So that character means this worker came from the central palace.
那么在秦代实行物类公民制度，
So at that time, they have a principle for all these workers. They will need to carve their names onto the project they made. So in that way, we can control the quality of that one.
它不论是从宫廷来的工匠，或者从地方来的工匠，在我们制作禽俑的过程当中，就要严格执行产品质量管理制。
So no matter this worker came from the central palace or he came from other local places, they will all too need to follow these rules to keep the track of the quality control on the Terracotta Warriors.
也就是我们现在监察制度的原型。
So that was actually the foundation of the quality control 2,000 years ago.
就是检验产品是否合格不合格。
That was part of the evidence to show that after they made the Terracotta Warrior, they'll need to check if this one fit.
这个也就是工厂它的后半部分这个陶工的名字没有刻上，只刻了一个机构的名称。
So we only find the name of the workshop they belong to, the central palace. But actually, there's another part of the worker's name, but it was not that was not carved onto this Terracotta Warrior.
那么同学们，这个数字编号倒是几呢？
他们刚才猜了是10。
对，
That was correct. It's number 10.
对，所以我们进行第二步就是现状描述，描述了之后，我们要接到我们第三步。那么第三步呢，我们要对所有的这些残片进行一个病害的认知。
So the second step here is to keeping records. But now we're going to carry on the whole procedure, going to the third one.
那么陶制彩绘文物共有19种病害。那么在兵马俑这个残片的当中，我们已经找到了18种。
We have already found 19 different types on the pottery figures, the pottery relics in China. But here on the Terracotta Warriors, we already found 18 of them.
那么几乎所占陶制彩绘文物的90%的病害。
So 90% of them were found on the Terracotta Warriors.
那么我们所看到的这一位秦俑，从它的表面上来看，几乎彩绘已经脱落完成。
So now let's look at this one closely again. It's actually very difficult for us to see any beautiful colors on this Terracotta Warrior now.
表面上只能看到它灰头头的内部的颜色。
So on the exterior surface, we can only see the color of the terracotta, that's gray.
那么其实啊，在秦俑的制作过程当中，原来通体是有彩绘的。
But actually, 2,000 years ago, when these terracotta warriors were first made, they were covered with beautiful colors.
他们在秦代的时候，他们穿的衣服跟我们现在穿的衣服基本上相近。我们现在也是按照秦代的这个衣服所流传下来的。
The outfits they wore 2,000 years ago are actually very similar to our wardrobe today.
我们所穿的2到3层，内边有内衣，外边也有颜色比较鲜艳的。
Yeah, there are 2 to 3 layers of the clothes, and also there are beautiful colors on them. We found different types of colors, and some of them are very vibrant and vivid.
秦俑在制作的过程中，通体表面最底层，它要上一层大漆，在大漆的上面再进行彩绘。
So after a terracotta warrior was made, it will be covered with a layer of lacquer first, and then covered by a layer of beautiful colors. So there are 2 layers during the whole process of coloring the terracotta warrior.
我们所看到的这些彩绘，目前是在地下2000多年河出土了以后，已经没有了。
But these terracotta warriors were buried underground for over 2,000 years, and they have already went through the human destruction, and also they have went through the natural decay. So that's why we cannot see any color on them right now.
它没有的原因就是经过大火的焚烧和大水的漫灌。
At the end of Qin Dynasty, the famous rebel called Xiang got into the pit, and some of them destroyed the terracotta warriors, and they set fire to pit number 1 and number 2, and that's why there's no color on the surface.
那么彩绘上的颜色有一些遗留下来，通过考古发现了以后，如果已经能够上面有比较好的残片，我们立马在24小时之内进行一个应急性的保护处理。
So that's a pity we cannot see so many colors on them. But actually, during the excavation section, we can actually see some traces of these beautiful colors. So when we sell that on the site, they will need to protect them first, like kind of like first aid on the site.
那么残留上面一些能够看到的一些颜色，如夹带，它们有一些红颜色，也就是已经被头压得比较结实。
But sometimes we can see some trace of the Terracotta Warriors' beautiful colors on it, like the nude color on the ear.
那么基本上都已经彩绘脱落、起翘、空鼓。
So these beautiful colors have already been peeled off from the surface after 2,000 years.
那么这些也是我们彩绘病害。
So that's a kind of the disease of these beautiful colors.
那么胎体的病害，大家也可以看到这么多的残片，从它中间已经断裂，还有一些我们所能够看到的裂缝和裂纹。
So sometimes we can see the cracks or even fractured pieces of the Terracotta Warrior's body. So that belong to the whole structure type of the disease.
所以是病害缠绕着兵马俑的一个全身整体。
So the whole body of the Terracotta Warrior was covered with different types of disease.
那么下一步，我们要对这所有的病害进行一个分析检测。
So the next step, we're going to detect and also analysis all these diseases.
那么我们肉眼能够看到的，我们就用我们简单的仪器进行分析。
So for the part we can see with our own eyes, we'll use the simple technology, simple machines to detect them.
如果我们看不到的，就是刚才我已经说过了，借助我们现代的分析仪器来进行
Yeah,
进一
but
步分析。
sometimes we cannot see all this information, all these diseases. So we'll need to use the help of the technology. So we'll use those kind of machines we talked before, like endoscope, X-ray, and microscope, all that kind of equipments.
小杨，这个，那么刚才我们已经说了，那边那一位就是彩绘比较脱落的严重，那么这一件手，它的彩绘保存的相对比较好。
The one we saw before, there are actually not that much the beautiful colors on the surface. But for this one, we can see it was actually well preserved because we can see the vibrant colors on the hand and also on the sleeve.
大家可以看到，这是一个保鲜膜，也就是我们家庭常用的食用级保鲜膜。
You can see it was covered by the normal equipment that was the plastic wraps.
那么这个保鲜膜在我们秦俑的保护修复过程当中，经常会用到。
That was often used during the whole process of the restoration work for the restorer to use the plastic wrap to cover these cultural relics.
那么同学们猜一猜，它有什么作用呢？对我们这个彩绘的手。
So you can make a guess. What's the function of using the plastic wraps?
首先，这一位秦俑虽然他已经残病，但是还是欢迎同学们的。
First, you can see, although this is just a part of a hand, a part of an arm, but it shows that he welcomed you.
今天表现的好，给你点个赞。
So that's actually gave you a big sum. That means you're doing a great job in China.
大家再看一看，这个手上面有一个陶纹，让大家猜一猜。
兰老师，刚才您问到大家那个保鲜膜的作用是什么？同学们已经回答，大家说是用来保护彩绘的。
对，完全正确。
Yes, that the preserving the color was actually the correct answer.
不但保护彩绘，还有另外一种作用，防止灰尘和微生物。
So we not only preserve the beautiful colors on Terracotta Warrior, but also create an isolation environment for the Terracotta Warrior, so can prevent them from the dirt and also other different type of bacteria inside the whole environment.
就是原来这个彩绘里边有植物胶，包括动物胶，还有一些蛋清之类的，它有一定的营养物质。那么微生物容易在里边形成一种病害，叫微生物病害。所以我们在保护之后，才用保鲜膜进一步的对它进行一个保护。
Because the beautiful colors were made with just medical colors from the nature, so there are some organic stuff inside will just cause fungus. So that's why they'll need to be covered by the plastic wraps. to make an isolated environment for them.
让同学们再猜一猜，这一位是陶公的名字，他是啥？
So now you can make a guess of this very own Terracotta Warrior because we can see the Chinese character on it. That's the name of the worker from 2,000 years ago. You can guess what's his name.
一般秦用的彩绘基本上有7种。
蓝老师，大家有人说是王，有人说是士兵的士。这个答案对吗？
还有人有没有其他的答案
Is there any other answers? 还有人说是土和公。这里面有正确答案吗？
那么这里边有一个正确答案。
There's actually one correct answer between all of them.
那么从这样看和从这样看是不一样的。
From the different perspective, the character are different.
其实这是一个弓。
Actually, in Chinese character, it's a gong.
那么彩头的，因为这上面已经冒出来一点。
So maybe you can you see that it's a 土 or 士 because there's a small part.
弓师，它其实也就是宫廷这个陶工所做的这一件秦俑。
So from this character, we can know that this worker of 2,000 years ago came from the central palace.
那么我们从这个残断的这个手中可以看到秦代这个彩绘的颜色。
So we can see the color on the very own hand of 2,000 years ago, how they were made.
也能够看到我们秦代的这个彩绘的施工工艺。
And also you can see the whole procedure of applying beautiful colors onto Terracotta Warriors 2,000 years ago.
最底层是一层大漆。
So the black part here we're looking at is actually the lacquer layer we told you before.
那么大漆上面再涂彩绘颜料。
And on the top of this lacquer layer, they will apply a layer of beautiful colors.
所以说秦代的这个彩绘是丰富多彩的。
So that's why they are very beautiful and vibrant, and even dozens of different colors on Terracotta Warrior.
它包括了这个彩绘的系列当中的红橙黄绿蓝靛紫。
So not only have the basic color, the 7 basic colors on the Terracotta Warriors, but also we have nearly 17 different beautiful colors.
那么我们再看一看这位老先生。
Now let's look at this one. It's a head of the Terracotta Warrior.
从他的这个表面上看，他们依稀的还留了一些彩绘。
So you can see there are some traces of the skin color.
对我们来说还是相对保护的比较好。
So that was actually well preserved.
那么秦俑彩绘，我们目前主要运用了聚乙二醇与聚氨酯乳液联合保护处理法。
Now we use the chemical method to preserve the beautiful colors. First, we'll apply a layer of polyethylene glycol and then cover them with polyurethane.
通过我们刷头、点头或者喷刷的方法，将这个彩绘保护的比较完整。
By applying these 2 different types of agents, we can make this Terracotta Warrior's beautiful color on it, keep it moisturized. So that's how we preserve the beautiful colors.
那么我们再看一看我们这一件这个双腿。
Now let's look at the legs of a Terracotta Warrior here.
小杨，
So that's a different one.
搁到边上。这是一双腿。
So those are the feet and of this Terracotta Warrior.
刚出头的时候，这个彩绘表面上基本上被泥土附着覆盖，我们是看不到这个颜色的。
This piece was actually completely covered by dirt when it was excavated very first time, and we cannot see any color on it.
那么目前我们只提取了双轴和踏板。
But after they clean out all this dirt on the surface, we can see the beautiful colorful traces on it. And now we only extract the pedestal and the feet of the Terracotta Warrior from the side.
那么这双霜雪，也就是我们所看到的红色彩绘，就是通过我们刚才的联合保护剂对它们进一步的保护处理。
So this very own beautiful feet with the color red was actually already being protected and also being preserved by the 2 different steps we told you before. We applied polyethylene glycol and also polyurethane on it.
那么彩绘保护完了之后，我们下一步要进行绘展。
So after the beautiful colors were preserved, we're going to move on to the next step. We will have all these different types of the specialists to consult together.
那么我们现在看到这一件，我们已经通过它所有的残片，我们通过分析检测病害认知，现在要给它开处方，看下一步针对它的病害要进行一个相应的处理措施。
So after detecting, analysis, and also diagnosing, after all this process, we're going to make a consulting together to see what kind of disease it had, and also make a very own treatment plan for this Terracotta Warrior.
第一步，我们要进行拼对。
In this treatment plan, we're going to piece them together first.
小杨这儿来。那么我们在拼对的过程当中，根据我们平时的经验，叫去大优先，兼顾直观。
So the principle during the piecing process is to choose the bigger one first.
那么拼对的顺序就是跟我们人一样，先从踏板，也从双足，从下往上拼。
And the principle was to start from the bottom, from the feet and up to the head.
也就是说，我们在拼对的过程当中，跟我们的拼头是一个道理。
So that was actually like piecing together a 3D puzzle.
根据我们这个形状、大小、颜色和部位进行试拼。
So we'll try to piece them together first according to the shape, the size, and also the damage on them.
这是一个底袍。
So that is actually a part of the bottom of the robe.
拿起来。那么这一个，大家可以看到形状。刚才我说了，要根据形状、大小和颜色。
So we're going to see which part it belongs to by analyzing the shape, the size, and also the color of these broken pieces.
还要根据它的部位和断面的厚度。
And sometimes we need to check all these fractures if they fit together.
现在我们可以试拼一下。
Now we can try to piece it back. So you can see it was pieced back from the fracture parts.
就是拼对的过程，也就是我们根据人的个残破这个结构，然后一步一步的把它们拼凑起来。
So based on their structure and the fragments parts and all these fractures, we will piece them together back one by one.
为什么要去大优先？我们先把2个腿按照人的形状先摆好。
And now here you can see we're applying the principle to choose the bigger parts first.
拼对之后，我们要用我们的胶对这个残断面进行粘合。
So after the trail part, we're going to use the agent work as glue to stick them together.
也就是我们到医院骨折了以后，我们要对它进行支架的连接。
It's just like when you got fractured, you go to the hospital, you'll need to make them stable. So we use the reinforcement agent.
如果对一些我们找不到的，我们考古队还在继续进行，我们要把这个停下来，再过去继续找。
But sometimes kind of situation happened. We cannot find every piece of this Terracotta Warrior. So when that happens, we'll need to stop the whole process and waiting for the archaeological team to excavate any more other pieces. If they fit together, we'll continue to this whole process.
我们尽量就是把一个残片，也就是一个秦俑，能够完完整整的小残片找到。
We're trying to find every piece of the Terracotta Warrior, no matter how small of them.
那么，如果对一些不太承重的部位，你比如说是我们的上面的胸甲或者之类的小残片儿，
Sometimes for the small parts on the chest or on the shoulder, those are part that does not lift the whole body.
如果不影响它的承重力和它的功能和结构，
So sometimes those parts can be ignored first. We'll carry on the whole process.
我们可以采用一些我们最新的补配方法，就是一陶补陶。
And sometimes when those parts on the shoulder or on the chest, those parts cannot find because they do not carry any of the Terracotta Warriors figures. So that part we can use modern clay to make them whole again.
那么接下来的，我们要对它进行一个档案的记录。
So now we're going to make all this diagnose process onto the written records.
去把档案拿来。档案在那
It's
个
kind of like
这儿。
the very own personal file of all these Terracotta Warriors.
我们的保护修复档案要把所有的材料和我们在修复过程当中所有的头像、影像资料、材料，包括我们所使用的一切的工具，都要记录在档案里。
So that's a patient record for the Terracotta Warrior. All these procedures and method we use in the whole process will be recorded on this.
看这一页，也就是我们档案里边的刚才说的病害头。
So that's a shape, a plot of the diseases on the Terracotta Warrior.
这就是我们的保护修复档案。
And that's a record in Chinese.
那么这个档案包括了28页，
So there are 28 pages of them.
对所有的保护修复的内容全部一一记录。
All this process were kept onto this record.
还有一个就是我们在修复的过程当中发现了一些痕迹，比如说指纹。
And also, those are the interior information we found on Terracotta Warriors, like the fingerprints.
它们每一个指纹都能代表它的年龄。
Every fingerprint can show us the age of this very own worker of Qin Dynasty.
那么秦俑它不是一个人做的，
Terracotta Warriors were not made by just one worker.
它是集体的力量。
So there are efforts of all these workers at that time.
我们完了以后要进行留观。
So after this whole process, they cannot be discharged at this time. So we'll need to observe all these beautiful colors and also Terracotta Warriors for a long time. So they're going through observation.
把小杨把灯靠近。那么这一件就是我们最新刚提出来的彩绘秦俑。
So that's a beautiful Terracotta Warrior we just extracted lately.
大家可以看到，我们这儿还有一盒粘药水。
So you can see there are some liquids used for the eye.
那么我们对秦俑所使用的一般的这个保护剂，在我们人体上都是通用的。
So those are actually can be used onto human in real lives.
我们用的是联合聚乙二醇与聚酯乳液联合保护处理。那么这一个是聚乙二醇，那个是 PEG200，这个是 PEG400。
So we told you before we use the polyethylene glycol during the whole process of preserving beautiful colors. The one we use is called actually PEG200, and this one is PEG300.
所以秦俑在彩绘在出土的时候，一定要第一个先保湿。
So the first step to preserve a Terracotta Warrior on site of the excavation was to moisturize this very own figure.
那么这个聚乙二醇这个叠粘液，也就是起到了一个保护眼睛和湿润的作用。
So this polyethylene glycol agent will kind of serve as moisturize this very own piece first.
所以说秦俑的眼睛非常重要，
So the eye of the Terracotta Warrior was very important.
我们一定要把它保护好。
So we're going to preserve all these beautiful colors on this one.
那么清理和保护这一件彩绘的俑头，我们已经用了半年的时间。
We have already spent half year to keep the beautiful colors on this one, to preserve it.
因为它是一个高级的军力用。
Because it was actually a high-ranking officer, a general.
那么另一只眼睛，我们现在正在开始对它进行手术。
So we're going to preserve the other half of his face.
但是它的眼睛保护的也比较好。
But it's well preserved.
等它2双眼睛完全保护好了以后，它才就是能够按照我们的意思睁眼看世界。
After the whole face was preserved, they can face us again.
所以说，禽友的保护不仅仅是用一种的方法，我们就是采用了多种的方法对它进行进一步的保护处理。
So different types of technology and methods were employed during the whole process of preserving a terracotta warrior.
我们这一件也就是通过我们就是禽友我们的医生的手，运用了多种方法，将它们彩绘一层一层的保护起来，所以现在完全把它们原来的颜色呈现给大家。
So with the help of these magical hands of the workers in the relic hospital, that's how we can see a beautiful and vibrant terracotta warrior here right now, 2,000 years later, 2,000 years.
它脸上皮肤的颜色跟我们的颜色是完全接近的。
So after 2,000 years, we can see the face color was actually very similar to our very own skin.
所以说，我们同学们一定要学好历史。
So history is very important for everyone.
考古、艺术和文物保护学。
And also archaeological information and also art information, and also chemical information was also very important and used during this whole process.
因为历史是我们走向未来的底气。
The history was our foundation and also our back of courage for us to face the world.
那么我们文物保护修复师就是传承历史文化的眼睛。
And the conservator and restorer here, those are the ones who carry on the history of China past 2,000 years.
所以要用我们现代的这个技术来保护好、传承好我们世界文化遗产。
So it's our responsibility to carry on these beautiful colors and to show the world how Chinese culture looked like 2,000 years ago.
好，看同学们还有什么问题？
So that's all today for the lesson. We're going to have some time to answer the questions. Okay. Okay. If you have any other questions, you can just text it. We'll see it and answer it. How many Terracotta Warrior armies have you restored? 同学们问到蓝老师，我们至今已经修复了多少件秦俑？
到目前我们已经修复了130多件。
We have already restored about 130 of them.
也就是我们第3次考古发掘，从2009到2022。
That was from 2009 in the third excavation section here in page number 1. We have already restored about 130 of them.
那么整个兵马俑到目前为止已经修复不到2000件。
And as for the whole pit number 1, we have already restored about 2,000 of them. 第二个问题是，修复一件秦俑需要多长时间？
这个要根据秦俑的这个残破程度来决定这个具体的时间。
So we're going to answer the question, how long does it take to rebuild a whole warrior? It was depending on how broken this terracotta warrior was.
如果彩绘保存的比较好，而且残破的比较多，我们需要的时间更长，1年到3年都不等。
Given different conditions of the traces of these beautiful colors and sometimes of these broken pieces, it might take a whole year and even longer.
如果上面没有彩绘，相对的残片比较少，我们的修复时间比较短。
But sometimes with good condition, it might take not that much time. 那大概需要多长时间呢？如果这种情况比较好的话，
时间长的1到3年，时间短的3到6个月。
For those one with good condition, it might take about 3 to 6 months. But for the one that's much more complicated, will be even need several years. Do we know anything about the kind of people the workers were? 我们从秦俑身上能知道2000年前这些工匠是什么样的吗？
对， 我们从它的一些痕迹，还有一些它陶纹，包括它的指纹，我们现在正在研究，通过指纹能够判断秦代工匠的年龄。
So as for the fingerprints we saw before, that's evidence for us to see the age of this very own worker of 2,000 years ago. 我们是有计划要修复所有的秦俑吗？
到目前为止，我们修复工作是不停止的。
We are going to answer the question, are you planning to restore all the warriors? So till now, we're continuing doing this work. We are not planning to stop anytime.
那么秦俑不是我们这一代人能够完成的，它需要几代人的共同努力。
It's not a job that we can be done during this generation. So it needs several generations to carry on this whole process. Do you restore a Terracotta Warrior army every day at page number 1? Which season is your favorite time to restore warriors? 同学们问到，您是每一天都在1号坑里面修复秦俑吗？那哪一个季节对您来说是比较适合、比较喜欢来修复秦俑的？
对，我每天都下坑，我们进入1号坑进行这个修复秦俑。到一年四季当中，最好适合我们修复的就是4到10月。
So for Mr. Lan, he actually works here every day on the site of page number 1 to restore Terracotta Warriors. And the most suitable season for him was from April to October.
最适宜的温度15到25度。
And the temperature faced the most is actually from 15 to 25 degree.
湿度50到80。
And the humidity degree was about
50%到
about
80%。
50% to 80%. 那我们再回答最后一个问题，What type of disease caused status to be bad condition？ 那哪种情况下这个病害是比较严重的？
就是经过大火焚烧和这个水浸漫。
We just told you before, actually, during the whole process, because Terracotta Warriors were buried underground for 2,000 years, so they have already went through the human destruction, the fire, and also the natural decay. So that's why the water in it was actually vapored during these 2,000 years. So we need to moisturize them on the site. That's a part was the most serious condition.
我们看到有一些我们修好的，它身上的颜色不同，那么颜色偏红的，就是经过了第2次大火焚烧。所以原来的彩绘是很好的，又一次的破坏，那么我们的上面的这个彩绘基本上就没有了。
So for the ones you see right now with no color on the surface because they are burned 2,000 years ago by the fire, that was because of the human destruction. They used to be colorful when they were first made, but after the destruction of the fire, there's no color on the surface. And some of them even appear to be much more red than other gray parts because they are severely destroyed by the fire. So that's all for the question here today.
Okay, that's really a great presentation sent to the great, famous restorer and conservator, Mr. Lan's hard work. So we can see this life-size terracotta warriors and the horses in this number 1. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. For the students who haven't got the chance to see this World to Future tonight, now this one is recorded and we will upload it to the YouTube and you can find it. And stay with us. Next Saturday morning will be the Animals and Objects in Shanxi History Museum. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.